Hi there, this is Caitlin Bandy, and this is my channel Bandy's Books. And today I am doing my live stream weekly update. I have had a very busy week, but busy in a good way, I think. Work has been steady, it's kind of stabilizing, but definitely very, very busy. And I have been catching up on YouTube videos, which has been really, really good. I posted one video the week prior. I live streamed last Sunday. I did a reading sprint on Thursday. I'm doing my weekly live stream today. I actually have a video that's going up tonight for sure. And I have several videos that are completed and uploaded and ready to go on my channel for the upcoming week. So I'm very excited about that progress because I was really having a hard time like finding that rhythm that would allow me to get back to the videos and stuff. So happy to say that so far in May, that has been somewhat successful. We also got to take a day trip yesterday up to Death Valley. So I live in Las Vegas. That's about a 2-hour drive to Death Valley, depending on where in the park you're going. And my partner Oz had never been before. And it's been a minute since we've been able to take like a little day trip together. So I had suggested that we go up to Death Valley before it gets too crazy hot. Unfortunately, the weather didn't necessarily agree with me because it was 110 degrees up there. But we had a really good time. We stopped in Pahrump and found a cute little coffee shop, got some coffee on the way up, drove all over the park to a bunch of the like really nice viewpoints, did a little bit of walking around at some of the higher altitudes where it was a little bit cooler. And then we stopped in the town of Beatty for dinner and ice cream, got some good barbecue. And then we drove to this wildlife refuge that's just outside of Death Valley, which is technically like part of the Incorporated National Park, but it's its own place called Ash Meadows. And there's this thing called Devil's Hole there that I'm really, really interested in. I got interested in this because I'm into scuba diving. And as I got into scuba diving, I did like a ton of reading on different accidents and all sorts of things like within scuba history. And so this place, Devil's Hole, has this history where a couple divers disappeared in this particular cave diving accident. And it had caused me to like read up about Devil's Hole a long time ago before I even knew where it was. And it also houses a extremely rare species of pupfish. There at last count was about 175 of these little pupfish within Devil's Hole. And because of the environment that they're in, they've specifically adapted to survive there. So there's no other area in the world that has pupfish like this. And so anyways, I'm just very interested in this particular spot. And so we drove out there, but unfortunately it was fenced off and closed for the night. So we'll have to go back and check that out another day. But really cool little road trip. Nice to get out for the day and do something. We also went rock climbing on Wednesday, which was really good to stretch my muscles. We try to go every single Wednesday night. The local rock climbing gym by my house does like a ladies' night on Wednesday. And so it's like half price for women to go in. And so a group of us get together and usually climb on Wednesdays. And it was really nice because this was like the first night in a while that I felt confident doing like 5'10s and 5'11s. The last few times I feel like my muscles have been kind of weak. And so I've been doing like 5'8s, 5'9s, which are not bad, but I know that I can do 5'10s and 5'11s like when I'm in my routine. So it was great to be able to just make some time this week to do some fun things, to get some videos done, to get some things caught up around the house. And hopefully going forward, my schedule should stabilize pretty well and allow me a little bit more of that balance once again. So, as far as what I read this week, I finished How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. I really enjoyed this. This is a dystopian, like not end of the world necessarily, but it's a environmental apocalypse. And then scientific researchers are up in the Arctic, and they uncover a virus that had caused some problems before, and they accidentally unleashed that virus. And so this is a series of interconnected short stories following different people in different places as they deal with this pandemic, starting with the researcher and how they found the virus, and then like what happens as this virus affects generation after generation. So I thought that was a really interesting way to explore the effects of different generations, like from this particular virus. It was a unique look on this like post-apocalyptic scenario, and what might happen if we couldn't rid ourselves of a specific type of virus, or like as it mutates, how it continues to affect humans. Really interesting read for me. I really overall enjoyed it, and I really love how when I put this on camera, like the little sun and moons and stuff kind of glow. There we go. So this was a gift from one of my subscribers, Elizabeth. And so thank you, Elizabeth, very much. I have read it. I really enjoyed it. Such a cool gift to receive. Thank you. And then the second book that I read this week was actually nonfiction, and it's a book that's been sitting on my shelf for a little bit. And I've been kind of interested in this particular subject a little bit more as of late. And that's Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor. So this entire book is about breathing and how humans have evolved with a fatal flaw, basically, how our ancestors had bigger jaws and bigger airways and took deeper, longer, slower breaths, and how modern humans have adapted with smaller jaws, smaller mouths, smaller airways. And because of this, we're having more and more breathing issues, more respiratory problems, more dental problems, all sorts of stuff. And he talks a lot about like why we would be maladaptive in this book, which was really interesting for me because I always was under the impression like that typically the way that we adapt is to get stronger or more proficient in a specific environment. This book actually talks about why modern society is making our mouths and airways maladaptive. So that was very interesting for me, definitely a learning experience. And then he talks about breathing practices around the world, fire breathing, yoga, yogi specific type breathing, all these different like practices that monks and yogis and scientists and researchers are doing around the world and how that affects the body. This is very interesting. He's talking especially about the effects of like sleep apnea and mouth breathing and how bad that really is for your health. The reason that I was particularly interested in this book at this time is because I've been struggling a lot with allergies right now. I have never had allergies until a couple years ago. And I've seemed to have developed non-seasonal allergies. So like just all year long, I'm dealing with allergies, and it really affects the quality of my breath. I feel like sometimes I'm not catching enough air. I know at night, sometimes I'm like sleeping with my mouth open, and he's talking about how to deal with that just by using these breathing techniques. So I thought this was a really, really interesting book. It went into a lot of great detail, talked a lot about the research and like the medical science behind things. It wasn't just like, oh, hey, some Instagram influencer said this, do it. It like really went into detail on why these different practices work and all of these different things that contribute to our health via breathing. I also really like that at the end of this book, there is a section that kind of walks you through different breathing techniques to promote healthy breath within your own life. So I'm very excited to actually try some of these breathing practices and to see if they help with my respiratory system at all. I'm like one of those people that as soon as somebody presents me with like some sort of thesis about like, oh, hey, if you change this, it'll affect these things. I love to test it out. So I'm very much looking forward to trying out these different breathing techniques. I think I'm going to try like, because there's several ones that they discuss. I'm going to try like one for a week and see how I feel, then try another one for a week and see how I feel. Just kind of test all the different ones and see what one works best for me. So if you're having breathing issues, you're interested in the science of breathing, you're interested in how breath can affect your body, how human mouth, jaw, and airways have adapted over time, I think this is a super interesting book. Really, really liked it for nonfiction. And then I got about halfway through Chlorine by Jade Song this week. I read this during my reading sprints on Thursday. And wow, this is kind of a doozy of a book. I knew going in that I was going to be like a little bit uncomfortable in places because it is literary horror. And I feel like literary horror likes to be kind of like edgy and kind of push what the normal and acceptable is. And, horror is meant to like gross you out sometimes. So that is to be expected. I will say that so far this book has spent way more time talking about menstruation than I expected and the changes in a girl's body. But we have a young character who's essentially going through puberty, and she's a competitive swimmer, and she's talking about how this like all affects her. I am very invested in this story so far. I'm really enjoying where it's going. I'm curious to see like what the ultimate conclusion of this book is. It is definitely kind of a little bit wild and out there, but I enjoy wild and out there. So I'm really liking this so far. I'm hoping to finish this up in the next week. And I'm also about halfway through The Persians by Sanam Malouji. This is one of the books that is shortlisted for the Women's Prize right now. My mom actually received this gorgeous hardcover of it as an ARC from one of the publishers. And she read it and passed it forward to me, thinking that I might enjoy it a little bit more. I'm not sure about it yet. So I'm about 50% in. The main characters are a very wealthy Persian family. They have some complex situations going on, but honestly, a lot of them are really frustrated and unhappy with where they are in life. And it's kind of hard to empathize with them because you're like, you don't have to go to work. You don't have any real stress. Like, you have enough money to take care of yourself and be comfortable. Like, why are you so apathetic about everything? It kind of in some ways reminds me of my years. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh, but the style is a little bit different. It's not quite so quirky, I would say. It's a little more straightforward. I feel like this could go either way for me. At this point, I'm not sure. It just depends how this book ends up. It could either be like a 3-star, it was okay, or it could be a 5-star. I'm just waiting to see like what the end point is with this book. Okay, and then in other exciting news, this week I received an ARC. This is the Book of Lost Hours by Hailey Gelfuso. This came from Atria Books. I am so excited about this. This was not an ARC that I was expecting or one that I had requested, but I'm so glad that they sent it to me. I'm going to read the description because this really sounds like a book I'm going to enjoy. It says, Nuremberg, 1938, 11-year-old Lisavette Levy is hidden by her father from approaching forces in a mysterious place called the Time Space, a library where all the memories of the past are stored inside of books. Trapped, she spends her adolescence walking through the memories of those who lived before. When she discovers that government spies are entering the time space to destroy volumes and maintain their preferred version of history, Lisavette sets about trying to salvage the past, creating her own book of lost memories. Until one day in 1949, when she meets an American timekeeper named Ernest Duquesne, who offers her a chance at another life, setting in motion a series of events that puts her own existence and that of the time space itself in peril. Boston, 1965, Amelia Duquesne is mourning the death of her uncle and guardian, Ernest, when she's approached by Maura Donnelly, the head of the CIA's highly secretive temporal reconnaissance program. Maura tells her about the existence of the time space, accessed only by specially designed watches whose intricate mechanisms have been lost to history, and enlists her help in recovering a strange book her uncle had once sought. But when Amelia enters the time space, she discovers that her uncle may not have been the man she thought, and that the government may have another reason to bring her there. So this sounds so good to me. So it's got some historical fiction elements as it is set during World War II. It's got science fiction elements as there is a time-space continuum and like temporal fluctuations and everything. We've got a badass female character, or actually two of them it mentions. I just think that there's so much that I'm going to really enjoy about this book, and I'm so excited to dive into this. Definitely, again, not a book I was expecting, but one that I am very excited to have received. All right, so upcoming week, let's talk about things to come. So videos that are upcoming. I have a video going up tonight that I am super excited to say I can finally post, and that is my book of the month predictions for June 2025. I am just about finished editing it. I think I have about 20 minutes of work left on it, and literally as soon as I finish this live stream, I'm going to get to work finishing that last little bit, and then it will be up tonight. I'm so happy to get back into the swing of that. For the rest of the week, I have a Tag Tuesday video coming up that is already edited and uploaded to YouTube and scheduled to post. I have a book review on Friday that same is also edited and uploaded to YouTube and ready to go. And I'm hoping to possibly put up one other video this week. I have something in mind. I'm not going to speak on it yet just because I don't want to jinx it. And then if you're a fan of reading sprints, I have a reading sprint scheduled for this Thursday at 9 a.m. I was so excited. Last week, I was finally able to sit down and do a reading sprint. It's been such a while since I've been able to host one. So we hosted one last Thursday, and I was so happy to see so many people show up. It was just really lovely catching up with everybody and spending some dedicated time reading and chatting. And, you know, as I did previously when I had more time, I'm going to be running them on a weekly basis. For now, I'm going to be running them on Thursdays because that seems to work best with my current work schedule. But as I've mentioned many times over, I don't have a set weekly schedule. My schedule fluctuates based on the needs of the business. And so like in June, it may not be Thursday. It may be a different day. I'm just going to look at like 1 month at a time and schedule all my live streams for the whole month based on the schedules that I have. So that way, if the time fluctuates a little bit, it's a little easier to plan for. So this week, if you want to join for reading sprints, Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll probably be sprinting for about 2 hours, and I look forward to seeing you there if you happen to pop in. Okay, and finally, the things that I'm hoping to read within the next week. So I mentioned this last week in my weekly update, but I'm hoping to get into After Parties by Anthony Vyazna. This is a short story collection about the Cambodian American experience. This received a lot of critical acclaim and was published, I guess, right after Vyazna unfortunately passed away. I was hoping to start this during reading sprints this last week, but I was actually so invested in Chlorine that I didn't stop to switch over to After Parties. But I'm thinking that this week I will definitely get to After Parties because I'm probably going to be done with Chlorine by then. Some other books that are possibilities for the week. I have Trinity by Erika Kobayashi. This is a kind of post-apocalyptic story that deals with themes of nuclear weaponry. And I think that's a theme that's very common in this author's literature. She explores like how nuclear weaponry and nuclear fallout affects particularly women. In this book, I think it actually talks a lot more about how it affects elderly people. And there's this disease, and it coincides with like Olympics in Japan and a whole bunch of different stuff. And I want to say it talks about the nuclear fallout from Daiichi. There's a lot that sounds really interesting to me in this book. It is translated fiction. It's a couple years old, but one that I'm very, very excited to read. It just sounds super interesting. And then possibility number 3 is Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I've been hearing rave reviews about this book pretty much unanimously. I did have one person tell me recently that they read it and just thought it was so-so, that maybe they had overhyped it and it just didn't live all the way up to the overhyped expectations. So I am trying to temper my own expectations for this book, but secretly I low-key am hoping this is going to be a 5-star read. This is one that I've been expecting to be a really good read for me, and yeah, we'll see. I don't want to jinx it. And then the other book that I possibly have, depending on how exhausted I'm feeling and if I'm in need of recharging, I have Water Moon by Samantha Soto Yambao. This is kind of a cozy fantasy sort of a deal. And it sounds really cute. I picked it up through Book of the Month. This kind of is giving me like My Name is Totoro vibes. And yeah, every once in a while I need something a little fuzzy or a little bit lighter to break up some of the heavier stuff. So I may pick this up this week, just depending on how I'm feeling towards the end of the week. And then the only other thing I was going to mention is at the end of this weekend, I am going camping. I have a rare weekend off. I'm switching to a new store location on the following week. And so I wanted to take off like 2 days and have just a proper weekend before I switch into my new store and my new role. And so this weekend, I'm hoping to go camping up in Mount Charleston for a few days, just decompress and enjoy a bit of nature, which means I'll have a lot of time for reading. Because usually when we go camping, we hike during the day. And then like when the afternoon hits, we start cooking dinner, lay in the hammocks, and then I'll read until I feel sleepy and want to go to bed. So I'm going to pick out some books and take those up to the mountains with me. And I'm really, really looking forward to that. And I know Oz and Luna are looking forward to that too. Luna absolutely loves camping trips. She loves sitting by the fire. She loves snuggling in the sleeping bags. It's like the whole thing is just one big adventure for her. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think that's really about all that's going on. Next week should be a pretty smooth, steady week. I don't anticipate anything really crazy. I'm working 5 days straight, so I can have that weekend off. And I've carved out some time to continue shooting a few YouTube videos throughout the week so that we can stay a little bit ahead of things. But that's about everything. So I hope that this weekly update was interesting for you, caught you up a little bit on what's been going on, how things are. I forgot to mention too, I have 2 books left for the current round of the BookTube prize. I'll probably be finishing one this week and one next week, as that deadline is fast approaching where I have to get my votes in. And because I'm a kind of nervous Nelly and sometimes I like forget things, I like to make sure I finish way in advance so that if I do space out, like I've already read the books and I just have to remember to put the votes in. I have like alarms a couple days before the votes are due. Really enjoying the reading for that so far. It's been fantastic. And then we also have the book Boy Parts by Eliza Clark, I think it is, for the Backlist Book Club that Jamie, Kate, and I will be discussing at the end of the month. So I'm going to be catching up with that one real soon as well. Anyways, hopefully this was an interesting video. If it was, make sure you give me a thumbs up, comment down below, and let me know how your week's going, anything interesting that you've read, any books that you hope to read in the upcoming week, any exciting things going on. So yeah, I'll see you in the next update next Sunday, and I hope you guys have a great week. Thanks. Bye.